Right, so we're going to connect some dots today, and you know what? We got to get the cowboy hat on because, boy, this is going to be a doozy, my friends. Sit back, buckle up, and I'm going to break it all down. We're going to connect all the dots. Today, the Israeli government hit by a cyber attack from Russian Killnet group. Why would the Russians be targeting the Israeli government website? Well, we're going to tie all of this stuff in together today, and the way you connect the dots for what's going on right now, you look at what is precipitated in the months before. You remember when the U.S. was sending 3,000 Navy Marines to the Persian Gulf? You remember when they had this massive buildup of forces on the Persian Gulf? You remember how Iran has the capability to make nuclear weapons in 2 weeks, warrants a new report. That was a week ago, by the way. And you realize how the Iranian top commander, all the way up to the Ayatollah, the supreme leader of Iran, has not denied involvement in orchestrating what has happened with Hamas, who, I should add, just met with Sergei Lavrov and the Russians earlier in September. My friends, this is all connected. There's going to be those hardline, circumspect objectivists right now who want everything pointed out to them, but I'm going to speculate like I've never speculated before. That's what you come here for. Take it all with a grain of salt, but to me, this makes perfect sense. You have the top Iranian commander saying today that Al-Aqsa Mosque will be liberated soon. You have celebrations in the streets from New York City to Turkey to Iran, all over the Muslim world. They are celebrating these attacks. We have one of the biggest land invasions being planned by the Israelis. Some are saying that it's going to come in the next 48 hours. Hezbollah says that if that happens, they're going to join the war. Now, understanding what's going on there, it's important to also look at what the U.S. military is doing. Here is the position of the U.S. military naval strike groups as we speak. The Gerald R. Ford is going to be moving deeper into the Eastern Mediterranean in response to what is going on. Well, where is the Eastern Mediterranean located? It's very, very close. Okay, it's on the other side of Turkey. It's getting a lot closer than it was before to Russia. There was a time when NATO was pressuring Turkey to allow NATO warships into the Black Sea through the Bosphorus Strait. What is going on in the Black Sea? This is all about Russia, I do believe. I think this is all about the main nexus of global conflict, which is Ukraine, Russia, and this is the reason why. I'm going to talk about it in just a minute, but get a load of this. This is what they're going to try to sneak through. 100 billion in Ukraine spending package. This is what they're going to silently sneak in the door while this shitstorm is brewing in the Middle East. Okay, everybody's saying, oh, Ukraine's going to be forgotten by the world now, and they sure as hell have in the last 48 hours. But I do think that's by design. As well as other things related to this conflict by design. It's of no surprise that Lukashenko came out today and said he's the Belarusian leader. If you don't know, Putin warns he's being pushed to use the most terrifying weapon in the world. He just said this today. Well, didn't the Ukraine war end? Isn't all the attention on the Middle East now? Isn't this over? Not by a long shot. Get a load of this. What the Russians have been forced to do is retreat to a new port in Novorossiysk. Okay, way the hell back here in the Black Sea. Remember, before they were based out of Sevastopol. Thanks to the Storm Shadow missiles and the Scalp missiles from the French and the English being provided to the Ukrainians, they've now had to retreat deeper into the Black Sea. They can still launch their missiles, they can still conduct operations, albeit arguably because it's at a longer range, maybe not as accurately. The Ukrainians have a bit more warning time to respond, and of course it's just incrementally pushing them back. Now, we know that the Royal Air Force, yes, the Royal Air Force is in and around this region of Romania, Bulgaria, the Ukraine ports, policing this grain corridor, okay, that was supposed to have completely, this humanitarian corridor was agreed upon by the Russians. The Russians say it's open season. Right now, the RAF is currently policing that there. Now you have a U.S. strike group moving ever so close in the Mediterranean towards Lebanon, they claim, who, might I add, Hezbollah does have anti-ship missiles, so that situation could pop off real fast. But what you're seeing here today, another RQ-4 Global Hawk surveillance plane. And where is it flying? Well, it's flying very close as it can without getting shot down to Novorossiysk. Okay, are they planning something else? Do not take your eyes off the main global war that is happening right now, and that is Ukraine and Russia. I do believe that this is all related. It is all connected, which is why the Israeli government media websites were hit with a cyber attack from no other than the Russian KillNet group. That is, I mean, if you ever needed more proof that the ties between Israel and Russia are just tenuous, they're a facade, and that the real strategic connection for Russia right now is the Iranian axis, then that's all the proof you need. Some people are even going as far to suggest that the reason why Russia has strategically pulled back, and this is a 4D chess move, I don't really know if I put too much stock in this theory, but they're saying they're baiting Ukraine to attack its new Black Sea Fleet headquarters to justify a retaliatory strike on NATO assets. Now, Russia is surprisingly by the book in certain respects when it comes to international law. Are they looking for a justification to directly attack NATO targets? Do they even need a justification at this point? Well, according to this article by the typically fairly objective Eurasia Times, they tend to not take any side of the issue. They tend to try to report things fairly objectively. They claim that this is all just a ploy, or they float this theory. They platform this idea that Russia is baiting Ukraine to attack its new Black Sea Fleet to justify a retaliatory strike. Okay, so you have all these things happening at the same time. You have Russian KillNet hackers saying to the Israeli government, you are responsible for this bloodshed back in 2022. You supported the terrorist regime in Ukraine. You betrayed Russia. Today, KillNet officially informs you of this. All government systems of Israel will be subject to our attacks, KillNet said on the hacked website. Now, guys, if you're wondering why I'm talking so fast, it's because I got a Thanksgiving dinner that I have to go to, so I'm going to make this quick, all right? The Iranian commander, the commander of the Iranian military now, who has not denounced these attacks, who has not tried to distance himself from culpability for these attacks whatsoever, and even Hamas and Hezbollah have come out and said, yeah, the Iranians gave us the weapons, they gave us the green light, so nobody is denying what's happening here, which is that the U.S., Israel are preparing to go to war with Iran and Russia. Ayatollah al-Khamenei has praised the attack, saying in a post on X, formerly known as Twitter, that the Zionist regime will be eradicated at the hands of the Palestinian people and resistance forces throughout the region. Even the Wall Street Journal claims, take it with a grain of salt, it's Western mainstream media, I know, helped plot the attack according to Hamas, and this was not denied by Iran. Russia met with Hamas on September 13th. During the talks, okay, Lavrov urged an end not to the conflict in Israel, but to the rift between Hamas and its rival Fatah, headed by the Palestinian Authority, President Mahmoud Abbas, according to a statement from the Russian Foreign Ministry. I mean, is there any doubt at this point, really, what's going on here? I mean, come on. Now you have Lindsey Graham throwing it in his 2 cents like a dirty shirt. An attack by Hezbollah and Iranian satellites would have devastating consequences for Israelis' defense systems. If such an attack occurs, Israel and the U.S. should attack Iran's oil refineries and oil infrastructure, and I guarantee you that's going to war with Israel. There's no way in hell that Iran is going to sit idly by and allow the Israelis and the Americans who currently have warships in the Persian Gulf to just indiscriminately target their critical infrastructure without any reprisal. That is going to lead to full-scale war in the Middle East, okay? So it appears as though, according to some sources, a ground invasion into Gaza is imminent within the next 48 hours. I don't know how true that is. I would presume they would need a bit more planning with respect to that, but I'm certain that they have contingency plans laid out for such an event. Speaking of contingency plans, we got a Barrack Bunny from the IDF here who is claiming that, along with other people, that this shouldn't have happened, okay? The Mossad has deep, far-reaching tentacles that usually can see much smaller coordinated attacks coming, much less the biggest one that we've ever seen. You know, 5,000 rockets coordinating all of that stuff, keeping that stuff under wraps, something that would likely have to have been planned for years. We presume maybe they could plan it in a few months, but even still, to not have any informants or any leaks about a potential exercise like that, offensive, is very unlikely. A lot of people claim. In fact, I have somebody who I know in Israel right now who claims that they have a very credible evidence, along with other people who are claiming that yes, indeed, it's very, very difficult to get anything past these, especially the Gaza Strip wall between it and Israel, okay? So it's a very formidable defensive line, and for there to have been these chinks in the armor, and it wasn't a complete stand down, nobody's saying that, but people are saying maybe there was a blind eye turned because this is what the Netanyahu government needed in order to legitimate a massive full-scale war to take attention away from its own domestic politics. So everybody stands to kind of benefit from this. The Israeli government, the Iranians, the Russians, because it kind of, in the short term, takes attention away from what's going on in Ukraine. However, in the long run, who is really getting the last move in this game of 4D chess if this is all just a smokescreen so that Biden can secretly pass through another $100 billion in Ukraine funding that people were starting to be openly, vocally unsupportive of. So I think that's the gist of it, and you can expect that if shit pops off in the Persian Gulf, in the Mediterranean, with Iran, then the price of oil is going to absolutely skyrocket. The markets are going to crash. Everything is going to skyrocket in price. Our strategic oil reserve is going to be depleted. And just one more thing for you to think about before I let you go today. Isn't it funny in the run-up to all this with that ADL stuff with Twitter? Twitter, of course, now is the primary public square for discourse about what is going on and dissemination of information from on the ground. Really, it's just Twitter accounts who parlay what they've heard on Telegram. Telegram is really the real source. It's the root source of all the on-the-ground information, and then people who observe Telegram channels relay that information to the world via Twitter. But isn't it surprising, just a few weeks before all this transpired, that Elon Gate and the ADL suddenly came out of nowhere and took issue with the fact that there's all this potential for hate speech on Twitter, X. I keep confusing those things. Just change the name already, Elon. Let's just call it X, okay? And suddenly, this happens. And of course, the ADL walked it back. Elon did the obligatory meeting with Netanyahu. It was this talk about AI or something like that. Really, it was just a masquerade to, clear the air with respect to any of this possible hate speech that was happening on Twitter, okay? And then suddenly, Elon's been on Twitter posting for the last 24 hours, and he kind of crapped the bed because, well, at least from his perspective anyways, because he had recommended two accounts, OSINT Defender, and the other one was War Monitor. War Monitor has a pretty hardline Palestinian slant. I wouldn't say hardline, still objective, but definitely leaning in that direction. And Elon pulled the tweet. So, Twitter has been one of the primary fountains of information for analyzing this particular conflict. And it's just weird how all these things line up beforehand. How we get stories about how Iran is 2 weeks away from making a nuclear weapon. Now, we know that they've been saying that for 20 years, but now it's actually true, okay? There is no nuclear deal right now, and perhaps that's why all of this stuff is reaching a fever pitch. Man, the sparks are flying around the world. If you're not a prepper right now, you are incredibly stupid. I don't know what else I can tell you. You can see how the map is shaping up. So everything in red is the axis, and everything in blue is the Allies. Okay, so you can see the front shaping up here, and really at the crossroads is Turkey. Who knows whose side Turkey is ultimately going to end up on in this conflict, but they are really smack dab at the crossroads of this entire conflict. And apparently there's been a lot of other stuff going on from a nuclear perspective. Like there was this Boeing E-6B Mercury plane giving signals to submarines, nuclear submarines up there in the Arctic. So we're still in a high state of DEFCON, guys. Do not forget that. That is the crux of the matter. Finland spoke about the timing of the resumption of work on the gas pipeline. Apparently there was a leak between Estonia and Finland. Finland's one of the primary suppliers now of natural gas to Europe. Is Russia starting to engage in some sabotage of its own? I gotta go because the turkey is cooking and I think it's pretty much done, and I am hungry. I've been fasting all day. Thanks for all the haters out there who've motivated me to get back into the intermittent fasting, the carnivore diet for the most part, except for today, which is cheat day. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe.